Huh. I didn't mean to leave the mic open.
This is my first time.
You're kidding.
I'm sorry.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Horsehead Weekly. This is the week number 14 edition, aka the horribly abbreviated edition because of the fact that work got real busy as of late, and I've also been spending the last day in classes because as a lawyer, you actually have to go to class about once a year for 2 days just to keep up on, you know, your credits that you have, or else you don't get to be a lawyer anymore. And I like being a lawyer, so I'm just going to keep that going. So, all that aside, we are here for week number 14, and I actually have a meeting at 7:30. Luckily, I can do it right here from my computer. So, for now, let's get going. We're going to jump right into it because we got to go fast. And we're going to start with last week. So, last week was crazy because there were so many different options as to what could happen. Every single game mattered and would come up to decide who was going to end up falling where. So it was really interesting. A lot of really close games. We're just going to start off on top. For the one game that mattered the least, probably, it was myself versus Doug, and I ended up taking the win. And from there, I needed a lot of help from either Dave or Sean. I needed one of those two to win, and if they didn't manage to win, then I was going to make it potentially into a bye. Neither of those broke my way, which meant I ended up just moving up to 8-5 without getting a bye. James and Tyler fought, and Tyler continued to put up really good numbers and knock James down to 8-5, which opened the door for Malcolm. If he could just pull off a win, he would have ended up winning the division, and he would end up going to the playoffs as the 4 seed. But alas, due to a couple of stuffs being added around the middle of the night on Sunday, Malcolm awoke to see that he had lost to Matt S, and thus would be put at 7-6, which meant he would need some help from elsewhere to make the playoffs. Specifically, he would need Steve to win, allowing him to make it in on tiebreakers over in the division with his with Matt S, and then with the tiebreak at 7-6, he would have had the tiebreakers over Matt M. Alas, that did not come to pass, and because Steve ended up falling to Maddy, which then made things a lot easier to look at for the standings. But first, just a quick note in the Eliminator. Congratulations to Nick on winning this year. Fought really hard to get back after that first loss in week number 1. Only dropped another game in week 11, so apparently the number 1 is just a very bad number for him. But yeah, so he ended up pulling it off, putting up really great numbers the last 2 weeks. And so congratulations to him. He is the Eliminator champion and has already received his $50, so good for him. For the standings, so as I was mentioning, the way all that worked out was actually really nice. Only 2 teams had 9 wins. They weren't in the same division, so easy cut to the top 2, and those will end up playing this week to determine, so that they can determine their own fate moving forward, because the winner chooses their opponent out of the 2 remaining teams in the winner's bracket. For the divisional, again, very cut and dry. The other 2 divisional winners were both standalone at the top of their group, and thus they were able to just move on in. And an easy tiebreaker of I beat James in the head-to-head. Thus, I am awarded the number 3 slot. Congratulations to me. I earned the right to face number 6. Number 4 then being James. So then 5 and 6, another very easy cut, as these were the 2 people at 8-5 from the division, both from different divisions and from the 2 divisions that had 9-win winners. So they both just kind of walk on in, with Matt M having the head-to-head tiebreaker over Steve. So that was really cool. And then for the people who just get a bye into the 550, again, very easy cut, with Malcolm and Matt S both being there at 7 wins, the only 2 people with 7 wins, so they get in without any kind of a problem. And then from there, it's just, 1 team with 6 wins, 1 with 4, 1 with 3, 1 with 1. Ta-da, you're all fighting for your life this week. So yeah, at this point, everybody still is in the running for money. Even if you lose this week and you're in the elimination matches, there's always incentives, so there's no reason not to continue looking on the waiver wire and stuff like that for people. I understand that is going to upset some people because they're going to think, well, I'm in a race for, hundreds of dollars. Why is this person picking up people if they could only earn $5? As a courtesy, last year I did not put any waiver claims in on Wednesdays. I waited until Thursday and then I put my waiver claims in. And I believe at that point, I don't think Jess was making waiver claims because I think Jess was the other one who was eliminated. I'm not 100% positive on that, but I think that's what it was. So basically, if you are eliminated, just as a courtesy next week, please wait until Thursday to start making waiver claims, and let the people who are competing for, at least 10 times what you're playing for, have the option. So other than that, just a little quick nugget that I found interesting. If Malcolm did end up getting a stat change over the course of the next couple hours, as I believe that they do stat changes up until noon on Thursday. I don't think there's going to be a big stat change, but let's say there is one. That would shift things around considerably. He would move up to 8 and 5. Matt S would fall down to 6 and 7, but Matt S would have the tiebreaker over Tyler. So the 8 and 9 seeds would not change. The only thing that would change would be Malcolm would then jump to the top of the wildcard teams. So he would be up to the 5 seed. Matt M would then cascade down to the 6, and Steve would cascade out of the playoffs and into the buys for the fight for 50. So if that ends up happening, which again I don't think will happen at this point, I feel like if there's a stat change that was going to be that significant, it would have happened by now. But let's say they do find something tonight for some reason. At that point, Malcolm is the 5 and plays James, and Matt M becomes the 6 and plays me, and Steve is eliminated from the playoffs. So yeah, that's just in case, because that was a very close match in the last week of the season and a very important game. So other than that, let's take a look at the winners bracket then. As you can see, they have Nick and Mike as the 2 buys, as the 1 and 2 seed. Now, that is not necessarily the way it's going to work out, as they are playing for the right to choose their opponent next week. So let's say it goes chalk, just for argument's sake, and James ends up winning, and I end up winning, and Nick ends up winning, and he says, okay, I want to play Mark this week. Then we will flip the 1 and the 2 seeds on the bracket, so that way it becomes myself versus Nick on the bottom and Mike versus James on the top. So that's basically how it goes. And the winner of that match, I'll be pestering you, don't worry. But you do have noon on Tuesday is when I would like that in by. Unless there's like a really close match or we're waiting for stat correction or something, then we can try to figure it out. But yeah, basically that's just what it's up to. I want you guys to have it in early so everyone can look at waivers and have plenty of time to process what they're going to do, who they're playing against, how they want to handle everything. So we don't have a situation where, somebody's saying at 10:30 on Wednesday, oh, I want this person, or they wait till after waivers or until, something like that. I want this done as quickly as possible. So, moving on to that, so this is what's going on this week. As I said before, it is Steve versus myself and Matt S versus James. Those are the 2 playoff spots with, I know it says in the buys it's really small, but they are playing each other with Nick versus Mike. In the consolation ladder, Matt S versus Malcolm are just doing a rematch for fun this week. They don't actually matter at all. The winner basically just gets to say that they won the series for the best out of 3s, apparently, for the season. And the 2 matches that matter for elimination's sake going into the 550, it is Dave v. Tyler and Sean versus Doug. And the losers of those are eliminated from the fight for 50, and the winners move on, where they are joined from the losers of the Steve versus myself and Matt versus James matches, as those 2 will fall down, joining Matt S and Malcolm for a total of 6 teams, all hanging out just like we did last year. So those 6 teams will all be together. I'm sure Steve will be in Slack as soon as he hears this and going, what the hell is going on? This makes no sense. This is really complicated. I'm very sorry about that. This is what we came up with last year when you were gone. So basically the way it works is if you lose this week, Steve, because I feel like you're the only one who wasn't here last year who actually is going to listen to this, because I don't know how much attention Gabe is paying at this point. If you're here too, Gabe, pay attention. So the losers of the first round of the winner bracket, are still in the running for $50. So let's say Steve loses and Matt loses. Again, just using chalk. Those two will drop down. They will be joined by Matt S. and Malcolm as they had to buy into the fight for 50. And they will also be joined by the winners of Dave versus Tyler and Sean versus Doug. So those 6 teams, they will be playing for $50 over the course of 2 weeks, and it is literally just whoever scores the most points in 2 weeks wins. So you don't have to worry about having a bad matchup or anything like that, where you score the second most points and your opponent gets the most points and you're out. Nothing like that. It's literally just who scores more points of these 6 people, and the most points of the 6 people, they get $50 as a consolation prize. Yeah, that'll be paid out with everyone else's winnings at the end of the season. There's also incentives going on. I'm sorry I haven't updated them in a few weeks. If you want, you can always go and update them yourself. It's on the Google Doc, which is open to everybody. You can feel free to jump on, look at every single game that has ever happened in our fantasy football league for this season, then look at every single position, and then do the math to figure out which was the best, how to add everything together, and then add it to the spreadsheet, and then sort the spreadsheet every single week, and then you can see what the incentives are and how everyone's matched up for that. Or you can just wait for me to do it eventually, because I'm sure I'll be able to find some time to do it next week. I'll definitely make some time to do it during lunch or something. But for now, I'm just absolutely bombed. Now for the rankings, which I did not update any of the pitchers for, or either the PAX Unplugged Edition rankings pitchers, or I also didn't update the pitchers of the teams, because I don't think anything too important happened. Besides the fact that I think Kareem Hunt's off of a team and Spencer Ware's on a team, but it's whatever. So moving on up to number 12, we have Gabes. He continues to be not great. He does have Austin Eckler, who is going to be good for another couple weeks until Melvin Gordon gets back. So it gives him a breath of a chance against Doug, but we will see what happens with that. He also has AJ Green, who is now out. So yeah, he just has kind of a team that it never really got going off the beginning of the season, with Jerick McKinnon getting hurt right away, and then Deion Lewis not being good, Landry not being good, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, he just kind of didn't have good luck to start the season, didn't have good luck to finish the season, and that's why he's at number 12. At number 11, we have Dave. Dave dropped a real pretty penny on Gus Edwards, and if he is able to go this weekend, then that will be absolutely great for him, because Gus Edwards has been showing that he is the real deal. Adrian Peterson looks young again, which is insane. So yeah, he has a pretty good team, especially with like Cooper's playing and stuff like that. So yeah, I want to see if he can pull off the upset. He is playing against Tyler, who is way up higher in the rankings than Dave is, but I feel like that'd be really interesting to see that upset. It'd be really sad, of course, because Tyler has this absolutely phenomenal team, and for him to be just unceremoniously dispatched from the league, that'd be really, really sad. But yeah, so Dave has a pretty good team, but I couldn't move him ahead of Doug at number 10 because not shown here, but he does own Spencer Ware, who put up pretty good numbers last week, and he's filling in good for Kareem Hunt, who apparently maybe have to start doing the Chris Brown that beats women thing to him. The Kareem Hunt who beats women, him going away means his team's a lot better now that he has Spencer Ware on it. Yeah, so hopefully he can get some of his players back too. I mean, Alex Collins is kind of garbage. Trey Burton and Demaryius Thomas have not been playing very well. But maybe Amendola can come back for him, and I think I don't know if Carrion has been placed on IR or not, but yeah, he needs some help this week to beat Gabe, but I feel like he can definitely make it to the fight for 50. That's definitely possible. But I don't think any of these 3 bottom tier people are looking to make any waves in the fight for 50 if they make it there. Up in the B class, we still have Matt S. up high as lonesome because I still don't know what to do with his team. It just got even more confusing last week when Emmanuel Sanders just basically decided to disappear, as did a number of his other players that were good. I don't really understand what's happening with this team. I think it's a very good team, or at least it should be. It's good on paper, but it's just not putting up what it's supposed to be putting up. So I'm sorry, Matt. It's just the way that it goes. But the good news is that by playing well last week, and putting up decent points, despite the fact that some of your studs didn't end up doing that well, you managed to knock Malcolm down, which is kind of awesome. So way to take down your brother with just kind of out of spite, hoping that somebody else would fall, so that you might be able to claw your way into the playoffs, which you could have done. It was possible. You just didn't end up getting there for it. Uh, at number 8, we have Malcolm. I had to drop you down because you texted me and say you were gonna go drinking with people instead of hanging out with me in chat. So I had to dock you a couple of spots for that and knock you down to number 8. All of your team is trash. You're a garbage human, and I can't wait for you to move back up here because I enjoy spending time with you and genuinely enjoy your company. So that being said, your team still has a lot of pretty good people on it. If Nick Chubb and Marlon Mack can, pretend that they're RB1s for a little bit, you can probably make some things happen. Maybe get that 5 for 50 money, but if I was a betting man, I was laying odds on the 5 for 50, which I might actually do next week. That'd be kind of fun. I should have done that this week. Lay odds on like everybody like and how they could make money. Um, Dang, that would have been cool. Anyways, Malcolm, you are number 8, and I would, I'm not sure you're going to make the fight for 50. That that exciting with your numbers, but hey, who knows? You might be able to make something happen with it. At number 7, we have Steve. He remains at number 7 on the back of the fact that he's starting LaShawn McCoy as his RB2, and that's always spooky. But he also has Todd Gurley, so between his two running backs, he's probably scoring more points than you, you being a generic human in this league. Um, but yeah, he also just lost Greg Olsen for the year, so now he's riding the Kyle Rudolph / whoever he can pick up on waivers train. So Andy also has to play me this week, which is going to be tough. And I legitimately, if you put a gun to my head and said, "Hey, Mark, you have to pick who you're going to play this week between the two wildcard teams," I probably would have picked Maddy M over Steve, just because of the ability of some of his players just to do stupid numbers of points. But yeah, if I'm stuck with you, Steve, and even though I think you're lower on the power rankings, I think you have the higher spike potential, and that's real spooky for me. So hopefully, when it comes down to it, I know Monday night is going to be interesting because Monday night I will be playing. Uh, what's that guy's name? Adam Thielen versus your Kyle Rudolph and Stephon Diggs, and that's going to be spooky. Watching that, trying to. Hopefully the game's out of reach by then, but my God, it's going to be scary watching you have two players, me have one player, on all the same offense, and just hoping that it breaks my way, and Thielen can do what he needs to do to get me to the next round. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's Monday night. Monday night, yeah, I think it's the Monday night game. Then we have your compatriot in the wild card, Maddy M, and yeah, his team is, I think, improved right now because of some people getting hurt at the wide receiver position. So you ended up knocking out Deshaun Jackson, which means Mike Evans is going to be able to absorb a few of those touches. And you also have Tyler Boyd, who is going to be getting a lot more touches and looks because he has been looking really, really good regardless. But, now he's the number 1 guy out there with A.J. Green down. So I'm really excited to see what they end up doing with that. I don't know if you ended up filling in your flex spot with anybody better than Peyton Barber. I know you were pretty active on the waiver wire. I think you were active on the waiver wire this week. But yeah, because you had to fill in the Kareem Hunt spot. But yeah, I really do like what your team looks like on this graphic. And I'm assuming you filled in pretty decently, so I'm leaving you at number 6, mostly because I was too lazy to check and see if your team was. If you weren't able to fill in well and you end up having some pretty garbage running backs going on, then I probably would have put you behind Steve for the whole overall power rankings, as well as not just the who would I rather play power rankings, I guess it is. So that is Maddy M. And at number 5 we have James, the last of the A-class people. James does not move from previous week, even though he did have a pretty good week last week, even if it wasn't a loss. because he just has a lot of really good players going on his team, and it's going to be really interesting to see how it ends up breaking. Because who knows what can happen this week when he plays Maddy M. And I think he has definitely the potential, as does everyone in the upper bracket, but I think James really does have a potential to just throw together three really good games and just blow everyone away and end up, winning. He's not the favorite by any stretch because, two teams don't have to play anybody this week, so that gives them a huge odds advantage as is. But yeah, I really do think he's the first of the legitimate contenders for the championship. And that brings us up to the S class where we find Mike at number 4. He drops down one spot this week, mostly on the back of his team just not being as good as it once was. I don't know what's happening with it. He was really, really good for a few weeks there, and his team still has all the stud names. But he's having health issues with like Julio Jones. Some of the trades he's been making as of late got him people like Kenyon Drake and Sammy Watkins, and those both have not been going very well. I believe he's looking to start Phillip Rivers this week over Deshaun Watson, which is not good if you don't have confidence in Watson, considering you have to start DeAndre Hopkins every week. So yeah, I feel like you have a very interesting road ahead of you, but luckily you do not have to play this week for an elimination match at least. So yeah, you are, in my opinion, the second highest odds, strictly because you have the bye. If you were playing somebody this week, I would have put you at third, but you are the second highest odds for winning the championship as of right now to me, but it is very close. And at number 3, we have Tyler. Tyler dropped down one spot from last week. He continues to have a very good team. He continues to put up very good points and continues to do very good things. The issue is he was, as I said before, he was hamstrung for a while. He wasn't able to really do anything with his team because he was trying to hold it in stasis so that Nick could show up. Or not Nick, so Jerry could come back, and then Jerry just decided, what was best for him was not to come back. So he ended up trying to make some moves near the end there, and he ended up making a good team, but it was a little bit too little too late. And because of circumstances, he ends up falling out of the playoffs. But I feel like if he was in the playoffs, he would definitely be one of the big contenders. If he was in there over Maddie or Steve, he would definitely be in contention for he might be the third best odds, strictly because of the buys. And he might even be one of the top odds without if no one had a buy. So that is Tyler. At number 2, we have Nick. He jumps up 2 spots because his team has been absolutely popping off. He ended up getting lucky with Jalen Samuels being on his team, so that way he doesn't have to worry that James Conner is going to be out this week. But if he can continue to ride some of these players that he has that are, a lot of people are kind of like, about, but, if he can make them work, your Cortland Sutton, who is now the number 1 wide receiver out in Denver, which means that they're probably going to be stacking the box, so maybe he'll have some one-on-ones that he can exploit. But yeah, and he also has that absolutely stupid good defense, even if he is dropping Landon Collins to pick up a random safety every week. There's definitely people out there who score a good amount of points and can, fill that gap for him. So Nick is number 2, and I believe he is, at the moment, the odds-on favorite to win the championship. But even without the buys, even if he did have to play, like, Malcolm this week or something, because of the way that everything would work, I still think that Nick would be the number 1 to make the championship. And then finally at number 1, I have to leave myself there for at least one more week until I lose and get dispatched by Steve for my insolence and all that nonsense. So yeah, I think I have a really good team. I really like what's going on. Philbin I think he made Lamar Miller look really good when he was out there in Miami, and now he's back up in. Now he's back as the head coach up in Green Bay. So I'm really excited to see what happens with that, because I think that could be, that could make him another. I could basically have 3 really, really, really good running backs. And then I have Thielen and Beckham, who are both top 10 wide receivers at this point. I'm not as high on them as I once was, but I think they're both top 10 guys. And if Cam, he has a great matchup this week, and if he can, I think he could be the number one quarterback, but he could also very easily put up like 15 points because he throws a bunch of picks and doesn't end up making anything work. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. And I like my defense. I like some of the people I have on my bench. I'm trying to ride with Deion Jones, Jalen Smith, and Avery Williams. So I have three linebackers in case one of them goes down. I still have a backup, and I have Tyrann Mathieu and Clinton Dix, who I can sub in and out. I have Deontay Foreman in my team now, as well as Nyheim Hines in the event that something happens to one of my running backs. DJ Moore to fill in the event of an issue with a wide receiver. So I feel like I have a pretty good team. I think it is the best team in the league, but I'm willing to entertain other ideas of anybody else in the S tier. So that is my feelings. I'm just gonna go back quickly to because I do have to go soon, but to the winners bracket. And if I had to lay odds at this exact moment, I would probably say that the best team is Nick. Number 2 is Mike. Number 3 is myself. Number 4 is James. Number 5 is probably Steve, and then number 6 is Maddie. Those are the odds to win the whole thing, and I think that right now they're a lot. The two people to buy are a lot farther ahead of everybody else. But if assuming chalk again, because I don't want to cause a controversy, James and myself advance. Suddenly, I think it becomes if those are the 4 teams left and no big injuries happen or anything, I would go as far as say it's probably myself, then Nick, then James, then Matt, maybe even or Mike. Yeah, it's tough, and I'm really curious to see how this ends up working out. But for now, that is going to be it for me. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next week. But yeah, so thanks for joining me. Little quick little half an hour, but yeah, it works. So see you guys later.